A mighty army. When this word is mentioned, everyone thinks of war and loss, but it is also necessary to ensure peace and tranquility. So in this program we will find out which country's army has what strength. Are you ready? Let's start. This rating was compiled by the Global Firepower publication, which takes into account the number of military forces, their technical support, the area of the country and the level of financing.
Pakistan opens the top 10 in the ranking. Pakistan ranks 7th in the world in terms of armed forces and 10th in terms of power. The army was formed in 1947 after Pakistan's independence from the British Empire. China is Pakistan's main defense partner. The Pakistan Army is the land service branch of the Pakistan Armed Forces. Its modern existence traces its roots to the British Indian Army, which ceased to function after the partition of British India in 1947 as a result of the Indian Independence Act of the United Kingdom.
As of 2021, the Pakistan Army has approximately 560,000 active duty personnel supported by the Army Reserve and the National Guard, according to data provided by the International Institute for Strategic Studies (IISS). Pakistani citizens can join voluntary military service after the age of 16, but according to the Constitution of Pakistan, they cannot be deployed for combat operations until they reach the age of 18.
The Brazilian Army Portuguese. Exército Brasileiro is the land arm of the Brazilian Armed Forces. The Brazilian Army has fought in several international conflicts, mostly in South America during the 19th century. In the 20th century, it fought on the Allied side in World War I and World War II. The Brazilian Army had a recorded personnel strength of 219,585 active personnel in 2014. Another estimate by the IISS in 2014 put that figure at 190,000 active personnel, with 70,000 of those being conscripts. In addition, there were approximately 1,340,000 reserve personnel in 2014. This figure was down from 1,800,000 reserve personnel in 2008. In principle, the Brazilian constitution designates the 400,000-strong Brazilian military police as a reserve force of the army, although in practice they remain separate entities. As of 2018, the size of the active component of the Brazilian army was approximately 235,000 personnel in active service. The British Army is the principal land warfare force of the United Kingdom, a part of the British Armed Forces along with the Royal Navy and the Royal Air Force. As of 2022, the British Army comprises 79,380 regular full-time personnel, 4,090 Gurkhas, and 28,330 volunteer reserve personnel. The British Army has been a volunteer force since national service ended during the 1960s. Since the creation of the part-time, Reserve Territorial Force in 1908, renamed the Army Reserve in 2014, the full-time British Army has been known as the Regular Army. In July 2020 there were just over 78,800 regulars, with a target strength of 82,000, and just over 30,000 Army reservists, with a target strength of 30,000. All former regular Army personnel may also be recalled to duty in exceptional circumstances during the 6-year period following completion of their regular service, which creates an additional force known as the Regular Reserve.
The French Armed Forces French Forces Armées Françaises encompass the Army, the Navy, the Air and Space Force and the Gendarmerie of the French Republic. The President of France heads the armed forces as Chief of the Armed Forces. Personnel military age 17.5 active personnel 373,867 2021 reserve personnel 71,472 2021 deployed personnel 11,000 expenditures budget 49.7 billion euros 2021 56.86 billion United States dollars ranked 6th.
South Korea Army. The army consists of 420,000 troops, approximately 2,130 tanks, 3,000 armored fighting vehicles, 6,200 artillery pieces, 60 guided missile systems, and 560 helicopters as of 2020.
Main battle tank types include 400 M48 Patton series and its upgrades such as M48A3K, M48A5, and M48A5K, 33 Soviet T-80U and 2 T-80UK given by Russia to pay off debt, as well as 1,511 K1A1 and K1 tanks, which bear a 120mm smoothbore gun and are of local manufacture. The future replacement for the K1 and K1A1 MBTs has been named the K2 Black Panther Hyukpyo, which will be fitted with a 1,500 horsepower MTU-based engine, 55 caliber 120mm main gun with autoloader.
Japan Army. The Japan Self-Defense Forces, also informally known as the Japanese Armed Forces, are the unified de facto military forces of Japan established in 1954. The Self-Defense Forces consists of the Japan Ground Self-Defense Force, the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force, and the Japan Air Self-Defense Force. They are controlled by the Ministry of Defense, with the Prime Minister as Commander-in-Chief. Personnel: military age 18 to 32, eligible for enlistment. Active personnel 250,800, 2023, reserve personnel 56,000, 2023, expenditures budget $54.1 billion United States dollars, 2021. Indian Army. The President of India is the Supreme Commander of the Indian Army and its professional leader is the Chief of Army Staff, COAS, a 4-star general. 2 officers were awarded the rank of Field Marshal, a 5-star rank, a ceremonial position of great honor. The Indian Army was established in 1895 alongside the long-established Presidency troops of the East India Company, which were also incorporated into it in 1903. Below the division level are standing regiments, which are responsible for their own recruitment and training. The Army is an all-volunteer force and constitutes more than 80% of the country's active defense personnel. It is the largest standing army in the world, with 1,237,117 active troops and 960,000 reserves. The Army has launched an infantry modernization program known as the Futuristic Infantry as a System, FINSAS, which will also upgrade and acquire new assets for its armor, artillery and aviation sectors. The People's Liberation Army, PLA, is the principal military force of the People's Republic of China and the armed wing of the Chinese Communist Party, CCP. The PLA consists of 5 service branches: the Ground Force, Navy, Air Force, Rocket Force, and Strategic Support Force. It is under the leadership of the Central Military Commission, CMC, with its chairman as Commander-in-Chief. According to the United States Defense Department, China is developing kinetic energy weapons, high-powered lasers, high-powered microwave weapons, particle beam weapons, and electromagnetic pulse weapons with its increase of military fundings. The PLA has said of reports that its modernization is dependent on sales of advanced technology from American allies. Senior leadership have stated, some have politicized China's normal commercial cooperation with foreign countries, damaging our reputation. These contributions include advanced European diesel engines for Chinese warships, military helicopter designs from Eurocopter, French anti-submarine sonars and helicopters, Australian technology for the Hubei-class missile boat, and Israeli-supplied American missile, laser and aircraft technology. The Armed Forces of the Russian Federation, Russian, Vooruzheny Sily Rossijskij Federacy, Vooruzhany Sily Rossijskij Federacy, commonly referred to as the Russian Armed Forces, are the military of Russia. In terms of active duty personnel, they are the world's 5th largest military force, with at least 2 million reserve personnel. Their branches consist of the ground forces, the Navy, and the aerospace forces, as well as 3 independent arms of service: the Strategic Rocket Forces, the Airborne Forces, and the Special Operations Forces. Nearly 400,000 contractors serve in the Russian Army as of March 2019. According to Defense Minister Shoigu, in every regiment and brigade, 2 battalions are formed by contractors, while 1 is formed by recruits, who are not involved in combat missions. Currently, there are 136 battalion tactical groups in the armed forces formed by contractors. The number of conscripts amounts to 225,000 and the number of contractors amounts to 405,000 as of March 2020 and exceeds the number of conscripts by 2 times as of the end of 2021. The U.S. Army is a uniformed service of the United States and is part of the Department of the Army, which is one of the 3 military departments of the Department of Defense. The U.S. Army is headed by a civilian senior appointed civil servant, the Secretary of the Army, SECARMY, and by a Chief Military Officer, the Chief of Staff of the Army, CSA, who is also a member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It is the largest military branch, and in the fiscal year 2020, the projected end strength for the regular Army, USA, was 480,893 soldiers.
The Army National Guard, ARNG, had 336,129 soldiers and the U.S. Army Reserve, USAR, had 188,703 soldiers. The combined component strength of the U.S. Army was 1,005,725 soldiers. Citation needed. As a branch of the armed forces, the mission of the U.S. Army is to fight and win our nation's wars by providing prompt, sustained land dominance across the full range of military operations and the spectrum of conflict. In support of combatant commanders, the branch participates in conflicts worldwide and is the major ground-based offensive and defensive force of the United States.